Hi everyone, and welcome back to the studio. So as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, we are talking about Loopsy and just my experience with the app. And at the end of the day, I want to make a specific disclaimer for this video that I'm not trying to hate on Loopsy or the app. I just wanted to share my viewpoints not only as a low budget crocheter, but also not a low budget, but like a crocheter on a budget. But like, so I wanted to share my viewpoint as a crocheter on a budget, but also share my viewpoint as a crocheter who had a harder time integrating Loopsy into my crocheting routines, because I've seen so many videos on TikTok, on Instagram. I've seen quite a few things that post about it here on YouTube, and even not videos, but just like posts in general across social media apps, like singing Loopsy's praises. And again, this is not me trying to bring down Loopsy or hate on it. I just wanted to share an alternate perspective because I've seen so many videos just praising Loopsy to no end, and I think it's good to have some balance. And as someone who had a harder time with the app, and as someone who where it's a little bit harder to pay for Loopsy Pro, I think that's definitely a part of the conversation we need to have. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, let me get on my ring lights. So, because it's a little bit later in the day. Is this too bright? I think so. Let me try. Okay, so for me, One moment. So I was pulling out something on my computer and I pressed the wrong button. So yeah, that was fun. So I'll be right back in a moment. It's gonna be like barely a second for you guys, but I'll be right back. I forgot my train of thought, what I was saying before, but like I was saying, I'm not trying to hate on Loopsy. I just think there needs to be another perspective, so that maybe just so that there's a little bit more of a rounded perspective on it, just because like I said, at least on my feeds, on TikTok, on Instagram, here on YouTube, I'm just seeing post after post after post after post about how Loopsy has worked so well for them. So again, it's more about giving a rounded opinion about it and giving like the opposite side of the spectrum, because you know, maybe there are some people like me where it's like you tried it didn't work out, but then you start feeling a little bit bad or feeling a little bit of the FOMO for it not working out for you because it's worked for so many people. So that's where this video is coming from, and that's just the basics of what I want to get across in this video. So at the end of the day, my opinion on Loopsy is that I think it can be good for people who really need more specific tracking of every little bit of their crafting life, whether it's knitting or crocheting. That seems to be the main focus of Loopsy, knitting and crocheting, and I think there are some others, but I think those are the main ones that Loopsy caters towards, and I think that works perfectly fine. It's just when I went into it, I was expecting a lot of access to multiple different features, and then having more specific access to those features being part of like the pro subscription, and it wasn't what I was expecting going into that. So when you're going into Loopsy, you basically can log, I'm not sure how many needle sets you can log, but you can log up to, I think it's somewhere in the 4 to 5 range for hooks. So you can log 4 hooks to 5 hooks, and then anything past that, you have to do a pro. And if you're anything like me, you can hear my aluminum hooks. This is well more than 5, and then I have a whole other wood set. I think it's bamboo or wood. But like, so I have well over 5, and if I'm going into Loopsy expecting to be able to log however many hooks I have or however many needle sets I have, I'm expecting to be able to log all of them without having to pay for a pro subscription. And like, on the one hand I get it, but at the same time it's like I would expect to be able to use basic features like logging all of my stash, 4 hooks, 4 yarn, 4 needles, being able to log the full thing, because that's part of just access. And they're part of the promotion with Loopsy is that you're able to track your stash and keep an eye on what you have and what you don't have, and it's not disclosed that there's a limit to how much you can log within your stash on the free side of it if you're not paying for a pro subscription, which I get why they're portraying it like that, but at the same time it's like I think they need to disclose that. And also, like, words, I think there are for me at least, coming from my own personal experience, there's too many little things with Loopsy that just make it a little too much of a hassle for me. And it honestly, if I was going into, I'm just messing with my one warmer right now, if I was going into Loopsy, like, I am a very chill crocheter and a very chilled crafter. Like, if I'm in the moment, I'm in the moment, and I'm not always super chill, but like when it comes to the actual craft, like, I'm super laid back about it. Like, I just want to enjoy it. I don't want to put too much thought and energy and effort into an app for it. And something I like about, I use Crochet.Land a lot more, which I'll link down below in the description. But I use that a lot more. I sometimes don't always use it, but I use it a lot more because I can assign yarn to us. There's no pro subscription thing, and I can log as much information as I need for a specific, it's project based, and I can log as much of a stash per project. Like this yarn, I can log in this yarn for the baby blanket I'm going to make for it, and there's no limit. And then I can also put in, like if you're planning on selling it, I can also put in how much it cost, how much I used, the weight of it, like the full weight of it, the ounce weight, and then how much I used, like the yardage and how much yardage I used. And I can have it for a specific project, because I, like with this yarn, I bought this for a specific project. I bought it because I liked it, but I bought it for a specific project, so I'm not really going to include it in a general yarn stash. And a lot of the yarn I buy is project based, and I might end up with a lot of yarn left over, but I'm not, when I first initially buy it, it's project based. So that's where personally I'm a little bit iffy with Loopsy, just because there is a limit to your stash, and I think that that's not something that should be limited, and it's not something that should be, and an unlimited amount of things you can add to your stash should not be limited to a pro subscription where you're paying $30 for it, basically. $30 US dollars, and $30, like, it's not a lot in comparison to quite a few subscriptions, and in comparison to other things you can purchase into with crocheting. But at the same time, in my opinion, for an app where it's supposed to help you keep track of everything, $30 is a lot to pay for something that's supposed to help you keep track of your stash and what yarn you have, especially when there's a limit. And it's like, not everyone has, it's $30 a month, and not everyone has an extra $30 to drop on an app subscription just to be able to get the unlimited storage capacity for stash, or the unlimited stash capacity. So it's like, not everyone has the $30 to drop on that just for stash and just for extra projects. So it's like, and with me, I already have a lot of projects handy on my computer that I can pull up in the GoodNotes app on my phone, and then it's really not that hard for me to like line up. Like, I use a couple of different apps, and it's not that hard for me to correlate and dual task if I need to between the two apps. And again, like, part of the reason why I had a hard time integrating it into my crocheting routine is because I already have a routine that works well for me. So part of that is on me, but also too, it's like, part of the reason why I liked the idea of Loopsy is that you can keep track of your stashes, hook stash, yarn stash, needle stash, and that was part of why I liked it. But at the same time, it's like, I can use some of the same things with Crochet.Land. Again, it's more project specific, and you can keep track of like stitches, rows, whatever, in the Crochet.Land app. I think it's a stitch counter. They have it just labeled as a stitch counter. I've sometimes used it for rows. It's very much a situation though where it's like, if you're starting off by counting stitches in the stitch counter in Crochet.Land, you do have to consistently use it for that. If you're using it for rows, you have to consistently use it for rows. So that's the only like thing where it's like, I wish Crochet.Land did have an option to have both a row counter and a stitch counter, or a round counter, round/row counter, and so it's like that's not a huge deal for me though, because usually I'm not paying too much attention to the stitch or round counter. I'm usually not paying too much attention to the stitch counter, just because I'm usually counting it out loud and I don't want to have to like pause after every single stitch just to tap it up on my phone. So that is very much a me thing. But also I think for me, part of the reason why I had trouble integrating Loopsy was because it felt like there was too much faff to it and too many steps to get to where I wanted to go. At least this was my experience. So that's just how it ended up for me. And at the same time, it's like, I'm not mad at it, and I understand why a lot of people like Loopsy, but I think there's too many limitations for a free subscription for what you're getting for free. It's too much limitations. And if they had more stuff for the free and just like specific stuff for the subscription, the pro, like I'm trying to think of a good example, because I had a couple of examples earlier before I started recording this. Maybe like associating certain yarns with certain projects, associating certain hooks with certain projects, like being able to create a project and then saying, I didn't get this far with using it. I did start sort of using it for some projects, but then I would fall back on Crochet.Land. But I think from what I can recall, a lot of these things were based in the pro subscription, where it's like, if you had unlimited stash for hooks, needles, yarn, and then you had like unlimited projects and you could start working on a project and then just associate certain, in the pro subscription it would be associating certain yarns and hooks and needles with that specific project, then I think that would be fine. But I think there needs to be more accessibility within the free subscription for Loopsy, and it needs to be a little bit more rounded for that. But I don't want to become a broken record with this, just because again, I only used this for a month roughly, like you saw in the title and then the thumbnail, and like I didn't have too many opinions because I kept falling back on Crochet.Land and having that to use and having that already incorporated in my routine. So let me know your thoughts down below in the description. If it works for you, if Loopsy works for you, that is great, and I love that for you. It just didn't work for me. And like I said, kind of close to the beginning of the video, I just wanted to have a little bit more of a rounded discussion with this. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.